Okay, so section 3.5, the two-step equations. We're going to focus on these two steps. Now, they're going to sneak towards the end of these notes and towards the end of the homework. They're going to sneak some three-step equations at you, and they're not even going to tell you that they did that. When they do that, what we'll be doing is we'll be putting in step one. We'll be going back here. We'll be either clearing fractions, distributing, or combining like terms. Now, have we ever used the distributive property in this class? We did it last week. Have we ever combined like terms in this class? We did it last week. So those won't be new. Maybe the clearing fractions one will be our new one that we'll talk about tomorrow. But today, all of the ones we're going to look at, these are the two steps we're going to do. We're either going to add or subtract, or, and, we're going to multiply or divide. Now, they're numbered for a reason. We're going to be doing the adding and subtracting step first. We're going to separate our variable and constant terms first before we try to divide them, okay, or multiply them. So let's go ahead and look at our first one here. Solve the equation 3a minus 2 equals negative 29. We want to get rid of the negative 2 first. The negative 2 is our constant term. Okay, it's related but distant. It's like a second cousin. Whereas the term that's right next to the a is like the brother or sister term. There's a strong bond between those two. It's easier for us to get rid of this term first. And that's why when we first learned equations, I taught you to do the adding and subtracting steps before I taught the multiplying and divide steps. So we're still doing that same order. What will get rid of a negative 2? A plus 2, positive 2, okay. So on both sides of the equation, I want you to put a plus 2. Now we're still on our work papers writing down the original equation, and then we're showing our steps here. So now instead of having 3 lines of steps, we're going to have 5 lines of steps. And I know you're thinking, oh my gosh, that's so much. You're just showing your work is all. What is negative 29 and positive 2 make? Thomas? That's right. So 3a equals negative 27. Now we've just made this more complicated equation. We've turned it from a 2-step equation back into a 1-step equation. That one step that we still have to do isn't the adding and subtracting step. It's now the multiplying and dividing step. What are we going to do, Branson? Are we going to multiply or divide to get rid of that 3? Why are we dividing? Because the 3 is being multiplied to the a. That's right. So we're going to divide both sides by 3. The 3's will cancel out. You're left with a equals, and then Branson, what's negative 27 divided by positive 3? Negative 9. Those are our 2 steps. I color coded them for you. The first step we added 2. The second step we divided by 3. Most of the problems in tonight's homeworks are going to have tonight's homework is going to be integer problems. That's why I think you could get a head start on it tonight. That's not super difficult to do. I just have to make sure I'm doing the right order. I have to make sure that I'm getting rid of the constant term before I get rid of the variable coefficient. All right, so because I don't have a check answer button on my quizzes, here's how I would check my answer on this problem. I would rewrite the original equation by plugging in negative 9 for a. So 3a becomes 3 times negative 9. And then it said minus 2 equals negative 29. So I'm just rewriting the original equation, plugging in negative 9. What is 3 times negative 9? Negative 27. And negative 27 minus 2 is the same as negative 27 plus a negative 2 if I do keep change opposite. So it's not negative 25 if that's what you're thinking, because when you subtract, it gets lower. What's negative 27 and negative 2 make when you combine them together? We're going to join forces, right? What do you get? Negative 29. That's right. And that tells us we are correct. A equals negative 9 is the correct answer. Okay, let's jump down to example B then. On example B, it says B divided by 7, or B over 7, plus 5 equals 3. The number that we need to get rid of first is the cousin term, the constant term, the 5. Ashlyn, how do I get rid of a positive 5? Good. Okay. So I'm going to put a -5 on both sides. They'll cancel out. I always want to get rid of that distant term first. I don't want to get rid of the 7 until the variable term is by itself. Separate your variable term, which b over 7 is my variable term. This whole thing is my variable term. That's my variable. That's my variable term. Get that term by itself by getting rid of that 5. On the other side, Ashlyn, what's 3 and -5 combined to give you? That's right. We're going to go to war. The negative army wins by 2. So that's what we have. Step 1 was subtract 5 or add a -5, however you want to think about it. Step 2 is get rid of the 7. Maddie and Tez, what is the opposite of dividing by 7? Good. And what is -2 times 7? That's right. We're done. We got the variable term by itself, and then we want to step beyond that. We got just the letter, the variable by itself. B equals -14. And if you want to check your work on that to make sure we're right, rewrite the original equation and plug in -14 for B. And if you can get it to equal 3, you know you're right. What's -14 divided by 7? -2. What's -2 plus 5? It's 3. So 3 equals 3. That's what we wanted. We wanted them to be the same. So that's correct. We know that B equals -14 was the correct thing to get there for that answer. Okay. I'm not going to have you check everyone. In fact, you don't have to check them on your homework. It's just this is something I would want you to do on a quiz or test if you have extra time. Go ahead and check to see how accurate your answers are. All right, let's move on to example C. (4c minus 9 equals -9. This is my variable term. This is my constant term. This is my other constant term. My goal to get the variable term by itself means I have to eliminate that constant term that's on that same side, which is the -9, the one on the left, this -9. What do you need to do to both sides to cancel out a -9? Some other than Branson. Add 9, okay. Georgia, could you get the bill for me, please? Thank you. The +9 is going to cancel out with the -9. That's going to leave us with 4c. And actually, on the other side, the +9 is going to cancel out with the -9. What does that leave you on the right side of the equal sign? No, 4c is on the left side. What's on the right side? 0, exactly. We're going to go to war and nobody wins. So that just means we put 0. Okay, step number 1. Step number 2 is going to be pretty easy. What's the opposite of multiplying by 4? And what's 0 divided by 4? Still 0. Yeah, you can take 0. 0 can be the number you're dividing into. You can divide by 4. There's a rule that says you can't divide by 0. It's undefined, but we're not dividing by 0. We're dividing by 4. So it's perfectly legal to do that. You're just going to get 0. I know we don't have to check this one, but this is a really easy one to check. If I were to plug C in right there, what's 4 times 0? 0. So you're left with -9 equals -9. That obviously is correct. So we know we have it right. All right. So enough of me. Now you guys are going to do these. Let's look at example D. Georgia, tell me what number I should try to get rid of first. The -9, that's right. The variable term is on the left side. There's a constant term. So this is like the cousin term, and this is like the brother sister term. There's a tighter bond between the 4 and the D than what there is than the -9 and the D. Okay. One of these is called a constant. One of them is called a coefficient. Okay. The word co-op, by the way, means together, doesn't it? You guys done a co-op before? Cooperative work means together. So coefficient means it's together. Save that relationship till the end. Get rid of the constant first. And Georgia, how do I get rid of the negative 9 there? At 9, okay. Georgia, what's negative 7 and positive 9 make on the other side of the equal sign? That's right. So our first step is to add 9 and to get d divided by 4 equals 2. Second step, and I'm color coding them here for you. The second step is to get rid of the 4. Bryce, how do I get rid of that 4? Not plus 9. I'm trying to get rid of that 4. What's the 4 doing to that d term? Dividing. What's the opposite of dividing? So we're going to times both sides by 4. Bryce, tell me what 2 times 4 is. 8. So d is equal to 8. All this needs to be on my work paper. Write the original equation down. Show what you're doing to both sides. Our first step was plus 9 on both sides. Write your new equation down. Show what you're doing to both sides. Times them by 4. Finally, your answer is d equals 8. Not 8, d equals 8. You have to have that variable as part of your answer. Okay. Example E is very similar to that last one. Let's do example E. Maddie Cheeseman, can you tell me which number I should try to get rid of first? The negative 5. That's right. The constant term that's on that variable side. What's going to get rid of a negative 5? Okay. That's going to give us e over 3 equals, Maddie, what's 0 plus 5? 5. Okay. Step 1 complete. Step 2. Rayleigh, how do I get rid of the 3? Think, what is it doing and what's the opposite of it? That's right. So as soon as I put times by 3, those are going to cancel out. And what I do to one side, I do to the other side. So E is going to be equal to 5 times 3, which is 15. How are we doing so far? I'm asking you to do twice as much work as you did last week, because last week it was just 1-step equations. Now we're doing 2-step equations. I say twice as much work. It's really not that bad though. It's just an extra step. It's another multiplying. I'm not, instead of just doing adding or subtracting, I'm doing that, and I'm doing multiplying or dividing. So are these making a little sense? Is there some traction going on, or is our wheel spinning? We're not going anywhere. We're okay. We're at least getting some traction. Let's do some more. The best way to learn how to do these is just to do examples of them. That's the best way to keep doing, learn how to do something. Just keep doing it. Keep learning baby steps. Baby steps. How do I do it? How do I do it? How do I do it? Example F. This one doesn't look like a 2-step equation, but it actually is. Ella, can you tell me which number I should try to get rid of first? The 1. What's the opposite of a 1? Good. A negative 1. The 1 and negative 1 are going to cancel out. Now, right here, I could have someone get really confused on this problem, because I don't know how you were taught to do equations when you were younger, last year, the year before, but some teachers, I've heard them say, well, I just tell the kids to do the opposite of what the operation is. So in that case, they see a minus sign and that would mean to add. That is not true. Well, it's only true sometimes. Okay? It's not true when you have your variable term written second and not first. Sometimes they write it like that. So that's why I've been harping on you guys time and time and time again. Identify what number you want to get rid of and put the opposite of that number. Because if I just said, what's the opposite of subtracting, you would say adding. And that's not what we do. We have to subtract 1 here. That's how we get rid of a 1. That's why I've trained you guys to say the opposite number, negative 1. So we know what we're trying to get rid of. Now, when I copy down what's left on that side, the negative sign, the subtraction sign, actually belongs to the F term. So it's negative F. On the right side of the equal sign, Ella, what's negative 5 and negative 1 give you? That's right, they join forces. Now, this is a two-step equation here because of the negative sign still being there. I'm going to have to do a step to get rid of the negative sign. Now, that step could be as easy as doing this. That was pretty easy, wasn't it? I went gone, gone. If negative f equals -6, then positive f equals +6. I could do that. Now, if you're wondering why I did that, the reason I can, that's not some special Mr. Bright trick. That's actually there's a mathematical step that's going on there. If there is no number in front of the f, what number do we assume is there? A 1. And so if I put the 1 there, it shows that -1 is being multiplied to f. And what's the opposite of multiplying by -1? Dividing by -1. And when you divide by -1, two negatives make a positive, f equals 6. That's the actual step. But you can see why I would just say, I'll just take the negative sign off. If negative f equals -6, then positive f equals 5. If I take the opposite of this number, take the opposite of that number. Which means, by the way, if I had negative f equals +6, that would give me positive f equals -6. So make sure you know that. Or you could just do what I did, put the -1 in front and then divide. That's fine. Example G. Aiden Pasquale. What number do I want to get rid of first? The 12. Yep, that's the constant term. That's the cousin term, right? The second cousin twice removed, or we're going to remove it again. It's going to get removed a third time. Aiden, how do you remove a positive 12? Good. That's going to cancel out to give me 2G. On the left side, on the right side, Aiden, what's 4 and -12 give you? Nice job. We're going to go to war. Negatives win by 8. Parker Bates, what's the next step I should do? Divide by what? 2. There you go. Yeah, whatever number is being multiplied to the G, we are going to divide by that number because that will make it cancel out. Solving equations is all about eliminating numbers, right? Canceling it out until there's nothing left. We got nothing but the G left on the left side. Parker, what's -8 divided by 2? -4. Now there's nothing left but a -4 on the right side. G equals -4. -5h plus 9 equals -16. Thomas, what number do I want to get rid of? The 9's correct. Nice job. The cousin term, the constant. It's called constant, but I like referring to it as a more distant relative. You got the tight bond going on here between the coefficient, co meaning together. We want to get rid of the constant. Like the constant nagging that this number is doing. Thomas, how do I get rid of a positive 9? That's right. Now, Thomas, when you put a -9 and a -16 together, what's that going to make? -20. Say it again. There you go, -25. Yeah, you're joining forces, right? Which means we're adding the 16 and the 9 together. Whenever I add 9, I add 10 and take away 1. Have you ever done that? Adding 9, for whatever reason, can be kind of complicated to do in your head. Add 10, take 1 away. Now you've just added 9. Adding 10 is easy. Taking 1 away is easy. Do those 2 steps and you just added 9. All right, that was one step. I'm not called on. Bryce, you want to do this the next one? Okay, what are you going to do to both sides to get the H completely by itself? Not by 5. By -5. So the reason, if I had to guess, I'm going to guess the reason you said that is because we've done some of these problems by putting the opposite number underneath. The opposite number is what helps us cancel out the constant term. When getting rid of a coefficient term, as soon as you said divide, that's the only opposite step we're allowed to do. We have to divide by the same number. If you only divide by 5, and you're not the only one who's even done this today, Bryce. If you only divide by 5, you might scratch the whole thing out, but you know what you're actually only legally allowed to scratch out? The 5. still a negative sign there. That's why we have to divide by -5, so we scratch the whole thing out. So Bryce, what is -25 divided by -5? 5. Yeah, two negatives make a positive, so h equals 5. Questions? Have we done any yet that have parentheses? We have not. We'll stop here today. That means in your homework today, you should be able to do all the ones that look like these. That's about half of them, just so you know, probably more than half if we're being honest. Have I ever taught you what to do with a number in front of the parentheses? Distribute it. Oh, that's what we're going to do tomorrow. You've already done it. So I guess if you wanted to work ahead, you're perfectly fine doing that. Okay, but we'll stop right there and we'll talk about that tomorrow. Yeah, there is no new homework for tomorrow. I'm giving you 3 days for this homework assignment. It's started today, it's due Thursday. So we're just going to finish these notes and I'm going to give you guys all that time to work like you normally would have.